Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. Tyson, we're back in the saddle, folks. We are talking about some NBA basketball. All-Star game is in the rear view. Football season is in the rear view. Basketball is back at the forefront. So what Tyson and I are doing today, we're taking a look. If you're just tuning in, or if you're an NBA guy and you're like, hey, I'm wondering who is a contender in this conference and in this league, who really needs to have a perfect path, who's a pretender, who's not going to win. We're going to talk about who's actually in the lottery, who's lying to themselves and should be in the lottery. So that's how we're working things here. So we're going to start in the West. Our Eastern Conference breakdown will come out later. But Tyson, NBA, man, it was a busy trade deadline. I think it caught a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, Adam Silver, he did his best to steal as much shine from Super Bowl week as he could, and he did a good job. I mean, it was the NBA never sleeps. We're always calling it a soap opera, not just us, but I think everybody on Earth. And, you know, we go from the trade deadline into everyone hates the All-Star break again. So it's just the gears never stop turning.
Never stops turning. So without further ado, let's just get into it now. We're going to start with the contenders up top here, folks. And so to me, Tyson, I only have two teams in the West who are my contenders. That is the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Denver Nuggets. Who are yours?
It's the same too. I mean, Oklahoma City, it's dude, what the heck? Like, we've been talking about this for what feels like 100 years. Watch out for the Thunder once they get some guys in here with all the draft. But we thought it was going to have to be at some point, oh, the Thunder just traded 7 first-round picks for a Luka Doncic or whoever. This is a different thing. Like, this beast that they've built, it's almost like everyone is so concerned with talking about how good of a job Sam Presti has done that they forget to give him credit for why the team looks like it does right now. I mean, these guys are sitting here, they're 44-10. Their point differential is freaking absurd. They have some of the best players in basketball. Chet hasn't played like hardly at all. It's crazy what they've been doing without this guy. And then my second one is also the Nuggets. Man, they got the best player in basketball. It's easy.
So, and we'll talk about like, well, what about the Lakers? The Grizzlies are good. We'll get to them in a little bit. So here's why I have these two as my two. And as I can reasonably look here, and we've been doing this for a long time, Tyson, like we've seen the makeup of teams that can win, teams who have won, and you laid it out there. This Thunder team is deep. The reality of the situation is they're super deep. Like you pointed out, Chet Holmgren has hardly played. He's supposed to be their big three, along with J-Dub and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who could win his first MVP. They have the best point differential in the NBA, like you said, 14.1. That's better than the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are in second at 11.3. Tyson, their offense, fifth best on a points per 100 possession basis. They have the best defense in that category and in that metric. I mean, this is a really good team, both offensively and defensively. I think they're going to get even better with Chet Holmgren on both sides of the ball. I mean, you have a rim protector now. Harkenstein, I think, can be more efficient, and you kind of can rotate between the big guys coming in. So I think this Thunder team is for real. They have to prove it, right? That's what we're waiting to see. Is this actually a legit shot that they're going to be able to run through at this young of an age? We've seen teams do it in the past and come up short, but I do think they have a real shot at winning the West and winning the NBA title. And on the flip side, the Nuggets, Tyson, they were quiet at the deadline. Makes me a little bit nervous, but Nikola Jokic is playing on a different planet, man. I mean, he is taking his game to an insane level. And we're talking about 30-point triple-double type of stuff. I mean, it's just stuff that like Wilt Chamberlain did, man, and he's doing it in the modern NBA. And so when you have Nikola Jokic, you know, you're always going to be in a good spot offensively. Now, Jamal Murray, we know when the brights turn on or the lights turn on and they get bright, is that dude shows up in place. Like, doesn't have the all-star accolades. Oh, he's not MVP. That dude, when it's the playoffs, that guy shows up. Aaron Gordon, he's quietly getting healthy. And then how about our boy Michael Porter Jr. starting to play his best basketball? And then the role players, Julian Strawther, Christian Brown, I think are legit compared to what they were last year. So I like this Nuggets team, man.
Yeah, to me, I think if the season ended today, these would be the two teams in the West that I would say could reasonably win the NBA championship. But Brad, there's a couple other guys that require some magic in order to make it happen, but that doesn't mean that they can't.
No, exactly. So let's get into that here now. Let's talk about our perfect path. Like these teams, these are the guys who and the teams who need to have everything happen perfectly if they're going to be contenders and if they're going to win a championship and win the West. And to me, Tyson, it's two teams. It's the Grizzlies and it's the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, people might hear the Lakers and say, what are you talking about? They got Luka, they got LeBron, and we'll talk about that. But I want to hear who else you have in this perfect path little spot here.
So for the perfect path for me, I have the Memphis Grizzlies, and I'm eagerly. I need you to sell them to me because
Okay.
I do this with teams like they're blacklisted in my mind. I can't do this with Memphis where I say, oh, they could beat the Thunder, or they could beat these guys. Brad, I have the Lakers down a tier, so I'm gonna need you to sell
Oh,
me on them as well. Again, like I think that the West is for as much love as we've always given the West. There's some new faces in here. We'll talk about the Rockets and some of these other teams, but I think there's a lot of frauds out here.
yeah. And reason why I categorize this as the perfect path is pretty obvious. Like you need everything to match up for you. You need everything to line up. And that's the only way that you have a pathway to the final. So I'll start with the Grizzlies and I'll be quick here. Tyson, it's weird because Taylor Jenkins is like rotating so many players, like 10 a pop, and Ja Morant. Honestly, Tyson, Jaren Jackson Jr. is the best player in this team right now, and that
Dude,
maybe
be quiet.
sacrilegious for a lot.
You can't say that out loud. It's not okay.
And that guy, I mean, he's been special lately. He's a guy, one and done player in college, and he really exploded onto the scene. Now we know his defense. His offense has taken to a different level and gone to a different level with his ability to shoot the jumper. But I'm still have question marks on who the actual guys are going to be that Jenkins goes to. I mean, we've seen in the NBA, it's great to have depth on the 82 game schedule, but you need like 8 guys that you trust to go out there and like get buckets. So I'm wondering if that's going to get pared down a little bit, and if we're going to see that start to happen. Is Ja Morant there? Is he going to be the guy? Desmond Bane, like, can those two work in the backcourt? Now, Tyson, the reason why I think they do have a perfect path amid all those questions is I'm looking at things. They are 6th in offense when it comes to 100 points per possession, 7th in defense. Like, this is actually a pretty solid defense, even though they give up a ton of points at times. Like, analytically, they are a solid unit. And when it comes to net, they are 5th in the NBA in net rating. So they are a strong team. Now, they're sitting with a good record, and they're second in the West at 36-18. So, I mean, they're a good basketball team. I just don't think they have the high-end talent right now to compete with the Thunder or the Nuggets.
Yeah, it has to be a Jaren Jackson ascension, and that's kind of where I'm have some hesitancy. The other part is I think that this is a team that it's not, maybe the Memphis Grizzlies of a couple years ago where, oh man, look at these guys, they're bullies and it's awesome. I think this team has the potential, maybe like the Thunder could just hit them with body blows in a 7-game series and just say, you don't have as many guys as we do, and we have fresh legs going over and over and over again. But the leap Jaren Jackson has taken to this point in his career, it could be on the table in the playoffs. I've just seen this same group come up small in some of those moments.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the perfect path is for the Grizzlies, right? Like, I don't have it mapped out, but like we've seen the Mavs, they
might hit the 40-20 number, man. And like you don't need a perfect path. Like Phil Jackson put it out there 100 years ago. If you get to 40 and 20, you can win an NBA title. And they're sitting here at 36-18.
Right. And so they have enough to win if everything lines up for them. Now, let's go to the Lakers and kind of bury the lead on this thing. So Tyson and I, we broke down the Luka trade, and it was shocking, right? Like one of the most shocking trades in NBA history. So it's like, well, they have Luka and LeBron. Right. What else do they have? Like Austin Reeves is a really good third piece. That trade with Mark Williams not going through, I think really hurt them. Now they signed Alex Len. Okay. Like you just got another Jackson Hayes. I don't think they're like they have a little bit more front court depth with those two, but they don't have an elite big man. And it's not like this game is really centered around elite big men. But when you have to play Jaren Jackson Jr., when you have to play Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein, when you have to play Nikola Jokic, when you have to play some of the other big men that you have in the West, I think that does hurt them a little bit. I think the defense is going to be suspect. So we got to see how this thing looks. Now, anytime you have Luka and LeBron, there is a pathway to winning an NBA championship, right? That's why I say it's the perfect path. But you got to avoid the Nuggets. And if you can avoid the Nuggets, Tyson, I'll even put it this way. We'll talk about them coming up here. But maybe if the Mavs sneak in, God, I mean, that front line against that Lakers team, holy smokes, that's going to be tough to beat. I mean, so it's going to be tough for the Lakers as currently constructed, I think, to actually win the championship. But there is a pathway because you have Luka and LeBron.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to get hot for a month and a half. Like it'd be a crazy undertaking. I think they should be more worried with like a team like Houston than they should be with, let's go win a title right away.
All right, let's get into the pretenders because I think this is where Tyson has a lot of his teams coming out of this group here. So I'm going to throw it to you. Who are in your pretenders category besides the Grizz and Lakers who you have slotted down in here too?
So I'll kind of run through these quickly, but like Houston Rockets, I mean, they're fading over their last 10 games. They look like they're maybe coming back down to earth from what we've seen earlier this season. And it's also super young. Like it's okay, to have this kind of season and go out in the second round. We don't have to say, oh, the Thompson twin debate's over or something. If like some of these things, the Lakers, same concerns, like who guards some of these big guys. The Clippers, like it's been a hate relationship with me and the Los Angeles Clippers for a long time, but you got to show me you can win some of these things for me to really start believing you can win it. The Timberwolves, I don't know what is going on in Minnesota right now, but it's disgusting, dude. It's not fun to watch. And then I think the Golden State Warriors fit into this tier after the trade deadline. I think it's too little, too late, too old, and it like this team realistically, like if we're sitting here in June, it's like, man, Jimmy Butler figured it out. Steph Curry turned back the clock. Like if I squint really hard, I can see it. But as we sit here today in the middle of February, I don't think this team has much of a shot.
All four of those are my pretenders category as well. And you basically just laid out everything that I'm thinking about when I watch these teams. I like this Rockets team. I think they're fun. They're young. Everybody's like, they should have gotten somebody at the trade deadline. Why?
It's okay to be young.
I mean, it's okay. Right. It's okay to be patient. Like not everything has to be, okay, we got the guys, throw it in the microwave. Like it's all right to put it in the slow cooker. It's all right to put it in there and wait a little bit.
You can look at the Oklahoma City Thunder right now, sitting here at 44-10, as somebody that had a slow burn. Yes, they went out and got Chris Paul in the bubble year, but this is a different roster construction completely. These guys are all like 14 years old, and you can see how that worked. And then you can go to the bottom of the conference and find the Phoenix Suns, who went to the NBA Finals with a young core. They also had Chris Paul at that time, but then they really threw everything in the microwave, and look where that got them. I think that Houston was wise to not just say, you know what, all in on this season. They got 15 years they got to compete with these Thunder boys, man.
And the Spurs. I mean, we'll talk about them, but and let's look at who the champions the past few times. Nuggets, Celtics. That wasn't microwave. That was homegrown. That was sitting. So I think the Rockets did a good job here. Now, the reason why I don't think they're good enough this year, why they're pretenders, their offense stinks. I mean, it's hard to watch. Their defense is really good, and that's an Ime Udoka thing, and they're super long, super athletic. So they're going to be hard to play against in the regular season. But if you're struggling to score at the same time while you're young, while you're long, while you're getting that disruption, you're still having a hard time, I do think that's tough. Clippers, you got James Harden. I mean, it just – I don't buy it, man. It's not Lucy with the football anymore because I'm not sitting there like Charlie Brown thinking this thing's going to go through because I never was a Harden believer. Even when he was on my favorite team, the Sixers, I just never bought in. And – the Kawhi Leonard thing, we're just waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, it's great, and he kind of came back. All right, it's sure. Now, I got to give Ty Lue credit. They're good. But Tyson, 22nd in offensive rating when it comes to points per possession, that is atrocious. And I don't see that getting any better, even with Kawhi Leonard improving. Wolves, gross on offense again, 14th. Now, it's a good defense, but 14th in points per possession. Tyson, their net rating is not favorable. They're 11th. They just don't have enough horsepower. And you get rid of Karl Anthony Towns, and maybe that's the right play for the long run. It's not going to work now. So they are a pretender. I don't care what they do to close. And the Warriors, I think they're a pretender too. I almost put them in perfect path, but there's just not enough around Steph Curry. Now they're reinvigorated because they got Jimmy Butler, but Draymond Green's over the hill. They don't have Klay Thompson, who at least is like a good glue guy. Jonathan Kuminga's situation continues to be weird. Podziemski didn't take the step forward that I think they thought. Same with Moses Moody. Just a lot of guys that you're waiting on to hit, and it just hasn't done it, and it feels like they're stuck in neutral. The Jimmy Butler thing could provide a spark, but they're a pretender. They're not going to win the championship. They're not better than the other teams in front of them here.
And look, we skipped the Mavs, but they go in this tier for me too.
Well, that's interesting you say that, Tyson, because I have them in this section, in the lottery section. And so here's kind of how I'm looking at things when it comes to the lottery. And it's not like, well, all these teams, because, you got the plan and 8 teams got to make it. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, I guess we have 8. But, somebody can get knocked out here. Maybe it's the Rockets. Maybe it's the Clippers. I'm not quite sure. But, I'm putting lottery as either teams that should be tanking or teams that will be in the lottery, right? The teams that should be ending up there, and that's the direction the organization should go. I have the Kings, the Mavs, the Suns, the Spurs, the Blazers, the Jazz, and the Pelicans. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time here. I think the most shocking things that stand out, Tyson, are the Suns and the Mavs. So I'm sure you have them both in here, so I'm going to throw it to you. 1, because the Suns is your team, and 2, we thought both those teams could have an opportunity here. Mavs are coming off a freaking finals appearance.
Yeah, I mean, the Mavs might have been a tier higher. If they had Luka Doncic, they might have been a tier higher if Anthony Davis didn't hurt himself right away. I
True.
mean, Max Christie's been the best player in that trade. Don't let anybody tell you any different. As far as Phoenix goes, dude, I mean, you and I are so dumb. We sat here before the season and we're like, I don't know, I might put a futures ticket in on Phoenix to win the NBA championship. Dysfunctional, but like poorly, like, oh, what is Bud's saying? Like, be creative, be random, be random, be random. That's all the offense is. They have nothing. They still don't have a point guard. The big man play has been atrocious. There's like certain things you can hang your hat on for the future, but like you don't know what the future looks like in Phoenix. And the trade deadline did them no favors as far as narratives and things getting out of the locker room regarding like Kevin Durant or what Brad Beal's preferences were that just aren't hallmarks of a good organization. And those are things that happened in Phoenix under Robert Sarver that you were hoping Matt Ishbia was able to kind of clean up, and it hasn't happened yet. I just think that I have a separate list here, and I have more teams on it in the East than I do in the West. But the Suns aren't just in the lottery. They are the Western Conference team to me that's in purgatory, because there is no way out of this hell that they've made for themselves outside of moving on from like the second, third best player in the history of the franchise is going to hold all the records by the time Devin Booker's done. Like, that's really what you have now. Hey, Houston, can we have our picks back? That's where Phoenix is at.
Right, because that's the thing. There's not, oh, okay, well, if we suck, we have our picks and we're happy because we get a rebuild. Like, no, they traded all that away. Like you talked about, they mortgaged their future. And Tyson, it's the problem is with everything set up here. I mean, you're 27th in defense on a per 100 possession basis, man. Okay, can you survive that? Sure. If your offense is elite, it's 13th. Like, you're middling. Yeah. The offense isn't good enough. And that's crazy to say with Booker and Durant on the roster and Brad Beal coming off the bench. But the offense sucks.
They don't even get on. They don't get on the court together. Everybody's hurt. So Phoenix is in their own spot for me. But as far as the rest of the lottery teams go, I agree with the Kings. I think they made that very clear to us at the deadline what their intentions were. The Spurs, like, you were maybe hoping for a crazy second year Wemby bump, but they're building something. It's going to be pretty cool by the time it's fully cooked. I think everybody's aware of that. But I want to draw people's eyes maybe to the bottom of the conference. You have the Pelicans and the Jazz. The Utah Jazz are here on purpose. The New Orleans Pelicans did not fully expect to be here, and that's the reality of the NBA. And they did a little something at the trade deadline, but it, like I said, it's too little too late for what the Warriors added. I think it's too little too late for the Pelicans to just say, okay, you know what, we know we suck now. It's like, dude, you sucked in the middle of, like at the end of October, looking at that team, it was like, oh, the season just started. These guys stink.
Yeah, I mean, when you're high-priced, DeJounte Murray breaks his hand like 2 games in, it was uphill sledding. It was like, probably want to trade off some pieces here. And they got rid of Brandon Ingram. He signs his deal with the Raptors, which we'll talk about in our Eastern Conference breakdown, which I think they're in an interesting spot. But yeah, I mean, the Pelicans are just, what even do you do down there? It's tough. And the Blazers, I mean, why are you trying to win games? Tank. This is a really good class. I mean, trade Anthony Simons. I'm surprised we didn't do that maybe this offseason. But you got to get picks. You got to get players. It's build around the right people. I mean, Klingon looks like he can maybe play with Scoot. That's a nice little pick and roll piece. And then go get wingers, like legit guys that aren't Jeremy Grant and Anthony Simons, like legit guys who can have upside. That's what you need to be doing there. So tank if you're the Blazers, and just be patient. Come on. I mean, it was a long time since Drexler and all those boys were walking through the door. Like, before Brandon Roy and LaMarcus Aldridge were there. Like, it takes some time here. I know it sucks that Dame's not there, but man, I mean, you may have the next one if you actually do this thing right.
Well, they're also addicted to high-level athletes. And in the NBA, it's like, that's fine, but you can't have only guys that can jump and run really fast. You need some of these glue guys every now and then.
All right. So Tyson and I in the Western Conference, we think that it's the Thunder and Nuggets who are the clear contenders. We're out on the Grizz Lakers. We think you need everything to go right. Tyson's not even as bullish as I am. So those are the two teams. If you're just tuning in here, those are the teams we like. Now, Tyson, we didn't give out any bets, but things are starting to heat up in the futures market. Where can people find that?
It'll be in the Discord app. Group name, as I said, what I said. Tons of different channels in there, including but not limited to the NBA. Let us know where your futures lie at right now. If you think that it's a one-horse race and everybody in the East sucks and Oklahoma City is going to walk through the playoffs in the West and then bring home the Larry O, go place your future right now and let us know where you're at. You can start doing draft stuff. Dude, it's crazy to live in 2025. There's so many different avenues for you to gamble, and we just want to help facilitate us all.
Absolutely. Like, subscribe, and share the show, folks. Smash that like button if you're watching on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing that we do. We got a ton of content coming out for you, not just hardcore stuff. We got NFL, college football. We hit it all. And then share it with a friend, share it with an enemy. We'll be breaking down the Eastern Conference next. We'll talk to you guys then. Peace.